we're going to be leaving New Zealand today, sail up to Fiji. Just been looking at the weather. We were hoping to leave a couple of days ago, but there was some really big wind and waves just to the northeast of New Zealand, which we didn't like the look of. So we're going to go on the back of that. Might be a little bit rolly to start with. You've got to be careful coming out of New Zealand because we're so far down south that you get the big depressions moving through and you can get a lot of wind and a bad sea state. So the trick is to find a good spot for a few days to get north and up into the trade winds, and once you're up into the trade winds it should be a nice run up to Fiji. So it looks alright now, so we better go and check out.
There's a bit of a queue to check out. We take it as a good sign when there's a queue. It means that other cruisers have come to the same conclusion as us as the weather. Hopefully we won't all be wrong. It's all very nice, but I think you might get a bit more rolly out there. It's a little while since we've done any proper offshore sailing. We've only done one night sail of our whole 6 months in New Zealand, so we're probably both going to be a bit rusty.
Sun's just gone down and I've already got my thermals on, 2 jumpers on, and I think I'm going to go and put some more clothes on. It's blooming freezing. It's a good job we're going north.
Well, the camera's shaking because I'm shivering.
Go and put some warm clothes on. Yeah, you want to land there, don't you? Land there. At the rate we're going to arrive in Fiji on a Saturday. Now that's a bit of a problem because the rates for checking in are almost double at weekends and out of hours. So we really need to find some way of slowing down for a couple of days so we arrive on Monday. Best way to do that would be drop anchor somewhere, but where do you find to anchor in the middle of the South Pacific? Turns out there is such a place. It's called Minerva Reef, and it's a ring reef with a single entrance exit into it. It's shallow enough to anchor there, but the reef is so low that at high tide the water completely covers it, so you can't see it at all. It's just like you're anchored in the middle of the ocean. But it does provide some protection from the swells. So we're going to try and find it, not hit it, get in the entrance and anchor up for a couple of days. Save ourselves a few pounds getting into Fiji.
We're only 2.5 miles away from the reef now, and normally we'd be able to see something, but absolutely nothing, not even any breaking waves. I can see a couple of yacht masts though, and we can hear them talking over the radio, which is a bit surreal.
Must have been really difficult to find somewhere like this before the days of GPS and chart plotters. These days we just put in the coordinates and follow the lines, but there's nowhere here to take a bearing on to find where the entrance to the reef is. And if you're just doing dead reckoning navigation to get here, you don't stand a hope. Well, we made it in, no problems at all really, and it's pretty strange to be in the middle of the ocean anchored with no land. There's 4 other boats already here, but apart from that, that's it, just us and the ocean. It's pretty cool really. The anti-foul appears to be doing a really good job, but there's 3 patches that we couldn't paint in the yard because Florence was sitting on them, so I took advantage of the warm water to scrape them off.
We've been for a swim by the boat and we've already seen a couple of sharks. There are rumours that there was a great white here last year. There's supposed to be really good snorkelling by the reef, but it's too windy to take our dinghy and too far to swim without a dinghy, so we're not going to go.
A bit worried about not having a dinghy to jump into when a big shark turns up.
Yeah. I think the next few days might be a bit rough, so I spent the day doing a cook-up.
What have we got then?
We've got some sweet potato and coconut curry, some muesli bars, some tomato bread, some fruit cake and some risotto. Feels great to have had 2 good nights sleep and to get the boat tidied up. It's time to move on to Fiji now, which is 430 miles. We've got good wind, so it should only take us 3 days.
Fiji, here we come. Beautiful sailing conditions.
Well, this is more than the forecast said. We've got 25 knots and 3 reefs in the main. If it gets up any more, we're going to have to put up the storm gin. Just 10 miles left to go. It's been a pretty good passage, but I'm really looking forward to getting there.
I didn't really think much about the crossing before we left. Obviously we did the planning, looked at the weather and everything, and we seem to have got that right. But I didn't really think of it in terms of big distance, just it's less than what we've done before, although it is the third biggest distance we've done.
Is it really? Yeah, I guess it was. I know, it's easy to get blasé about the distances when you've done a few.
Although sometimes in the middle of the night when there's roaring waves around you in pitch darkness, you do think, actually this is quite a big undertaking. Before we left England, if you'd said, what do you think about sailing over 1,000 miles from New Zealand to Fiji? I'd have thought, wow, that would be a pretty amazing achievement. Now it kind of feels just like what we do. In a good way.
Part of the everyday.
Yeah.
I think it's the tiredness that's the hardest. It makes everything harder.
Being knackered. Normally we can't be bothered to film because we're too tired. Just want to go to bed. Get the other person to go on watch so we can go to bed.
Yeah, the only time I wear a watch is for night watches, so I know when I can get him up.
Funnily enough, I always get woken up on the dot of the time, like to the second. It's like Amy's like crouching over me as soon as the watch goes. She's like, wake up, your watch, I'm going to bed, get out of my bed.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do the same. Yeah, it's pretty tiring. Just 2 people on board, but then you don't have to worry about social dynamics of a third person on board, I suppose. Any country where there's been a previous British influence always seems to have a mountain of paperwork. We had to fill out this 9-page document before we left with everything about us, where we've been, where we're going. So we've got these various bits of paper and we now need to go into town and pay the various fees for various certificates. But the important one is we got our authority to disembark.
I think they were the nicest officials we met though.
Yeah, one of them, the biosecurity guy, he sat on board and had a cup of tea and chatted to us for over an hour about Fiji, culture, his life, his family, where they're going to university. And it was great. We get to learn so much more about the country through the people that we see.
All in all, checking in here cost £95, which is not as much as we thought it would be.
So that's our clearance. We're allowed to go anywhere in Fiji now. We just have to send an email once a week to say where we are, who's on board. Nice and easy. Next stop was the market to restock Florence with fresh food and some local kava. The kava root is traditionally given to the village chief as a gift when we request permission to anchor, fish and swim in the area owned by his village. So we need to have a stock of this on board.
With the check-in and shopping done, we're now ready to explore Fiji.
Next time, we head to the Fijian Bay of Islands, Vanua Balavu.